Sorry, it wasn't that funny. It was funny.
Oh,
but...
whoa.
It was funny. It wasn't that funny. You're dying over there.
I thought it was pretty good.
It was good. I'm not saying it was
A
like...
plus, B plus.
Was it worth him bent over?
I don't know where to go with that. That's kind of like earlier.
This is why it's Saturday night spoilers, so that way
Yeah.
the kids are in bed, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't say it in a bad
We do this
way.
for the kids.
Could turn the phone around on him. See, what's wrong with you? Today,
Casey, somebody broke Casey. Somebody broke
today
Casey.
broke Casey. It was a
Yeah.
whirlwind of a day.
Yeah.
There was a lot of customers. We're glad to have seen you all out here. We're glad that we could help you in any way we could have.
Yes.
So, nothing wrong with that.
But somebody broke Casey.
Somebody broke Casey.
Yeah.
And it might have been me.
Oh, man. Man, oh, man. All right.
Okay. I'm good.
Well, Trevor, you should take her away.
So,
Oh,
who am I taking away?
the show. Are you going to open it?
Yeah, I guess I can open it. I already opened it.
Live from no.
Live from Rainbow Comics, it is Saturday Night Spoilers. He's so broken. He's so broken.
Oh,
Can we hit
man.
pause on this and like slap him around a little bit? Wake up, Casey! Well, thank you for joining us tonight for Saturday Night Show. Joining our panel is Casey the Illusionist and Johnny Five.
Boom.
And it's new on the wall. Wow, that was a lot of lag.
That was a lot of leg. Shout out to poor internet signal tonight, you guys.
I hope you guys saw what we just did.
Hang in there. Yeah. Whoa. I gotta be honest, I'm really interested in these, but continue.
Yeah.
Tonight we are not talking about what is new on the wall, but what is special in our lives. Because Valentine's Day just wrapped up, so we want to talk about why we love comics, what got us into comics, and what keeps us going in comics. So, I guess, should I kick it off, since I'm kind of the one who planned it all, or do you want to?
Can we talk about this momentous pairing of Funkos that we have, first of all? Shout out to Sully and Hanzo.
Yeah, we've got Hanzo from Overwatch. If you don't have him, come check him out. He is new to the floor.
Woo!
And we have Sully from Pixar's Monsters, Inc. And this one is a Make-A-Wish one. So come check him out. Again, new to the floor. We just got him down here.
Cool.
Beyond that, who wants to kick this off?
I see you guys brought way more than I did, so I'm gonna let one of you go first.
Shall I take us through it?
Let's
Go
go.
ahead.
Take us through the process.
Yeah, you tell us how we're supposed to do this.
Tell us how we're supposed to do this.
I mean,
Show
Beyond.
us. Sorry, not tell us.
Lead us. Lead us, Trevor.
beyond
2.0.
how I always tell you how to do your jobs?
I mean, you don't really tell me anything.
No. I can start.
Okay. That sounds terrible.
There's a lot of things about me that are terrible. But tonight I have not only got my all-time favorite comic book, but I've also got a bit of a history lesson for you,
Oh boy.
telling you how I got into comics. And there's a Hot Wheels car in that container.
What?
Are we gonna back this up or
Back
so
it
that we
up,
can
Casey.
reach, or...
Back it
Do
up.
we need to back it up?
Yeah.
Oh, so you can reach?
I can reach.
Can you though?
I've got long arms.
Do you?
Little T-Rex arms.
But today I've got these.
I'll move my mouth. Sorry. Do what you will.
I got into comic books at the young age of 10, 11, somewhere in there. By the age of 12, I knew that I wanted to be in the comic book industry.
Boom.
I can't draw and I can't write, so this is as far as I'm going to get, which is a great place to be. I love the customers that I meet, and I love the books that I see through the door. But since the age of around 12, I've wanted to get into this industry. And what got me into my love of what?
It's not even your turn, Casey.
What's wrong with you?
Over there just... Gosh, I guess I'll go last. You can tell how this is going to go tonight. Casey's already over it. He's like, somebody broke
Keep
Casey.
going.
I have met a lot of girls in my life. And
Where are
I've
you
had...
going with this?
Let me finish. And you know how pods of girls, they're all giggly. I've got one guy here who's giggling more than a pod of girls. It's ridiculous. Somebody broke him today, and it's hilarious. 4 minutes into the show, and we can't say anything because he's over here giggling like a schoolgirl. So funny. But what got me into comic books were these. First comic books I ever read were Flintstones, Richie Rich, Pebbles and Bam Bam. A lot of Flintstones and Richie Rich, though. I got a lot of Richie Rich. Dennis the Menace had a lot of those. But were these old guys? Look at the date on this guy. If it will zoom in, June of 72. February of 76. I grew up reading 70s comic books.
Heck yeah.
Like, you can't afford these things with covers. Without covers, I was getting them all for free. History lesson behind it is my great-grandpa worked 5 jobs at once.
That's where you get it from. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a family trait. I overworked myself just like everybody else in the family. My grandpa was a school teacher. My dad is manager. He puts in as many hours as I do, if not more. In one job, I have 2. So yeah, working hard is definitely a family trait.
The time stone is in your family.
It comes with the Skogan side.
Yep.
But one of his jobs was working at the supermarket in Blue Earth, Minnesota, because that's where he lives. And cool fact, when comic books came out back in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, they were disposable entertainment. They weren't the collector's item that they are today. And they expired like produce. So every month they would circle them out. So Captain America, we got the new issue in, we throw the old issue out. So they would rip off the covers, or at least half the cover, and send it back for their refund to get credited for their next wave of comic books. So my great-grandpa would grab all the coverless books, because the story's still good. You don't need a cover to enjoy a story. The cover might be beautiful, but ultimately what matters inside is the story, what the content that's inside. So he'd bring home all of these coverless comic books for my grandpa and his siblings to read. And they passed down. My dad, my aunt, my uncle weren't so into comic books. I think it sounds like some of them ended up getting thrown out over time. But majority of them ended up in my hands. So I've got 2 boxes of coverless comic books, ranging from Flintstones to old war comics. I had pretty much anything that came out during that time. And not like a complete run, but sporadic issues. I've got 2 issues of Superman here, an issue of the Flash there. No, I didn't get any Flash. I got some Green Lantern, though. I got Green Lantern. I think I got some Green Arrow. Fantastic Four, X-Men, or I don't know if I got X-Men either. I'd have to look. I know I got some Avengers. Anyways, but what got me into comic books was these coverless comic books. I actually would borrow them, rent them from my grandpa. I'd get a stack of them. When I got done with those, I'd trade them in. If I wanted to keep a few, I'd trade, it was numbers for numbers. Wanted to trade in 5 issues and keep 2. I traded in 5 issues and I kept 2. Got 5 new issues. But this is what I grew up reading, was these classic stories from the 70s, the 60s, maybe some early 80s, but most of it was the 70s and 60s material. And 72, that was actually 2 years before my parents were born. So some of the stuff was probably picked up yet after my grandpa was married and had kids.
Nice.
So, or were they born? No, they were born in the 70s, weren't they? 70s or 80s. Anyways, that don't matter. It was the early 80s. That'd make more sense. I don't know how they're almost 50. They're old. Anyways, but this is what got me into comic books, and this is what has me where I am today. So, cool little history lesson. They used to tear off the covers, send them back, and get credited because they weren't collector's items up till the 90s, and that's when you saw that surge of special variant covers, foily covers. They were going through a bit of a downward spiral, much like they are today. Except for they had a lot higher print runs than they do today. But they were relying heavily on cover sales and the artwork for a lot of that 90s stuff. So that's why you had that slew of 90s that was mass-produced, overprinted, virtually worthless to that degree. So everything before then, you actually had a decent story.
That's cool.
I mean, the 90s had good stories. Up till the late 90s when the X-Men timeline got convoluted and you had Onslaught and all that stuff. But that is a history lesson on comic books. That's why it's pretty hard to... Well, it won't be super hard to find this stuff with cover, but a lot of those covers end up getting returned and stuff, and that's why you see so many coverless comic books. All those junker bins we have for 50-cent comics, that's why they're all coverless. They're returns. Back in the 70s. Now, on to the...
Whoa.
Take y'all for a ride.
Whoa.
Rainbow side. Guys, schoolgirl.
Sorry.
These guys say so funny.
I think you need to drink. Oh, yeah, good idea.
Refuel for my all-time favorite comic book. Another history lesson.
Whoa.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to hear about this one. This is awesome.
This is like the coolest comic book ever.
Well, I mean, okay. Continue.
Yours looks cool too.
I know.
But anyways. Not racist at all.
Oh.
That's what his comic books look like.
He's not laughing anymore.
He's not laughing anymore.
I think your comics are cool, Casey.
If you say so.
It'd be cool if they had Borkin on though.
Anyways, another history lesson about how I got my comic books. When I started getting comic books with covers, I used to do chores for my grandparents, picking up sticks in their yard. Mostly I was picking up sticks.
Yeah. Earn a coin.
Yep.
That's right.
And I got paid a comic book every time I did it. And they have an acreage bigger
That's
than
cool.
mine.
His comics are cool, officially.
That does look pretty cool. I love those 90s ads.
Oh,
Tobacco
man.
is wacko. That sounds like you're trying to sell it more than anything.
Yeah.
But
Come on, kids.
I used to pick up sticks in their tree grove so they could mow, and I get a comic book in payment. The comic book I got in payment, since Casey popped his out, I guess I'll pop mine
Are we
out.
gonna grade these too? Because I totally want to grade these.
Mine's decent.
Shut up, man.
I took care of my stuff.
I did not. I've read that. Anyways,
I took care
I'm
of
spoiling
my
my
books.
own Saturday night spoiler.
The Adventures of Superman, issue 503. You have got Hank Henshaw, the cyborg Superman,
Best
fighting. He is really cool. Fighting Superboy. Wearing his awesome leather jacket. I used to love Superboy.
Bro.
He was the
Those
bad
round
boy.
shades that they used to have on him.
He was the bad boy. They got Hank Henshaw flying over destroyed cities. They're destroying Capital City, if I remember right. He's over Santa Barbara right now. They're hunting down the rogue Superman, who, spoiler alert, is him. Just kills a bunch of civilians. Flash forward a bit, you got a lot of talking parts. He's talking to his news producers. They want to get some cameramen out there and want Superboy out there on point to guard with Hank Henshaw. And we'll go back a little bit and give that shout out to those shades.
Yeah.
I mean,
Give it up, you guys.
those round shades.
If you're not rounding, you're not.
You're not round, you're not what? Anyways,
Whatever.
it was just this really cool. This is what made me love this comic book. It was just action. Superman is fighting Superman.
Yeah.
Superboy discovered this really cool talent he had. He didn't know he had. Just disrupts his arm. Now he doesn't have his blaster arm. We can still punch him. So that was pretty cool. And it ends with him getting his face smashed in, and you don't know what's happening.
That's a lot
Continue.
of blood right there,
That's
too.
a lot of blood. I mean,
That's a lot of Kryptonian
90s
blood. Or half
Superman.
Kryptonian blood.
He was he was a clone. He was the clone of Superman. Lex Luthor, I think, was cloning Superman.
Yeah.
And this was a not finished clone. He got out early. They broke out him and the Newsboys, I think was their name.
Yeah. Just in time for the Marvel versus DC event, so he could square off against Spidey.
Mm-hmm. But that was my favorite comic book of all time. And I kept pretty good shape of them. You'll see some spinal wear, some ticks, some wear on the staples. Because I used to read this thing, man. I read this one all the time. Oh, it's my favorite. Mortal Kombat ad, back when they had cool ads in the comic books.
What?
Yeah. This was my favorite comic book.
Cover
of
to
all
cover,
time.
what would you rank this?
Oh, if I was to finally give a comic book a 5 out of 5,
Oh, God,
it would be
come
a
on.
4.9.
Okay.
You thought I was going to give it a 5.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I thought this was it, you guys.
I would give it a 5, if not for the fact that it continued, which you should have a continuing in Action 690. So I bought Action 690.
Yeah.
And it didn't have that. It had something else.
Oh,
It was boring.
yeah.
I think I'll check my comic thing. Maybe I didn't buy 690. I thought I did.
Yeah. You know what's funny about this line of Superman? I don't know if you encounter this in your collecting now because you're maybe getting some of these, but the Superman line around this time really reminds me of like X-Men now, where there's like 4 or 5 different things to get an event, and it's like Adventures of, Action Comics, Superman Core.
X-Men was
Boom, boom,
too.
boom.
You had
Oh,
Uncanny
totally.
and
Yeah,
you had X-Men.
Normal, X-Force,
Yep.
X-Factor.
It all
oh my
crossed
gosh.
over too. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
you had
It's crazy how intricate it is. It's impressive. I just have noticed that as a file comic. I
Yes.
never collected any of it. But...
and then Superman was fun.
Yeah.
Cool little detail. That little triangle there that says 23. That is actually your run number. This is installment 23 of the story run. And they did that, back when you had that Back in Time one where he's traveling through time. Superman is back in the early 90s. It was before this one. The little triangle again would show you what issue you are into that story. So this is actually installment 23 of Reign of the Superman or Return of Superman, one of the two.
That's cool.
Yeah. More you know. Yeah, this is my all-time favorite comic book. So it really made me love comic books.
Yeah.
Like, he just throws a boulder at him.
Like a boss.
Just was all-out action stuff, man. There was none of that boring talking heads for the most. I mean, the talking heads you had set up why he was going out there. It wasn't just talking heads for the sake of it. They were trying to get Superboy off his butt to go make some money. He's playing video games, of course. And you get out there. Spoiler alert, that's actually what it continued into in action, if I remember right. Or was it Man of Steel that was? One of the two. I'm going to check my collection. Maybe I don't have that issue. But that is my all-time favorite. That is the book that got me into reading like more current comic books.
Yeah.
Because I was getting some of these 90s ones, like I said, from my grandparents. But this was my favorite. This was, in my opinion, the best comic book ever written. Because it's the one that got me into that superhero stuff a lot more. I still had the 70s stuff, but this is just all that grisly action.
Yeah. And I've noticed when you pick up too, like, you know, different sales and stuff, you're always like getting a variety of stuff too, which is cool to see. So, all right, well, excellent kickoff to the show here with 2.0's origin story with comics, but it looks like we're going to be getting Galactic coming up here with Casey the Illusionist.
Yeah.
Fill us in, bro.
So I guess for my backstory in the comics, I didn't actually own a comic until I was more for myself until I was more into middle school, so more in that 12 to 13 range. But reading comics, I read comics like Spider-Man, mostly Spider-Man because that's what my older brother Andrew absolutely loved was Spider-Man. So the comics that I just had to get to read, Parker and Venom and those issues back when I was probably about the same age as when you started, 9-10 years old, was really enlightening to me. But I'm actually going to show you a comic book series that I actually really liked because it was a series it's a science fiction series that I absolutely love, and that's Star Trek. And this was actually the first series I owned. I owned a couple of the books right away, and one of them was completely destroyed, so I replaced them with books that I found here at Rainbow. Like, this is one that I owned myself, and the one I replaced it with, well, it's not a replacement. I just got it just because I'm like, well, might as well just buy them all, was this one. So here, I'll show them off on the Karamara. So here's my owned version of Star Trek Divided We Fall, the Star Trek Next Generation and Star Trek Deep Space Nine crossover. Here's my copy. Here's the copy I got from Rainbow. There's a little bit of, seems like, fading up here near the top, but I didn't really care. It was
That's just finding rubbing against other comic books. You see that from time to time.
right. But yeah, so I actually when it came to comic books, it was I just went for anything that I liked for reading and anything I could get my hands on. Yeah, I didn't have like access like you did with your grandpa having those
limited
and
access too. That was when we found that at a flea market.
right. Well, my family didn't go to flea markets all that often. It was staying home on weekends unless we had someplace to go for like helping other family members and stuff like that. And but yeah, I guess I can dive into this book. It's a really cool book. It's around the time of the movie. It's either, I think, Star Trek First Contact. So it actually has like the Star Trek Enterprise that I absolutely love. I love the refit that they had in the original movies. I'm sure you saw the refit in the movies for like Motion Picture, Wrath of Khan, all those.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, this is the E that they had in the Next Generation movies. Really cool starship, really cool design in my opinion. But then it also includes Deep Space Nine in here, and you'll know. And as we were showing earlier, these 90s ads were just hilarious. I'll show you the one that I was actually showing Johnny a little bit earlier.
That was pretty funny. Tobacco wacko.
If you're a teen.
Whoa.
But it sounds more like a selling feature than anything. Like,
So
you're not telling kids to stay away from it. Whoa.
right.
I think I want to play whatever game that is.
Yeah, this is globalwarming.net for Dreamcast.
It could warm me up.
But anyway, this story, what's really cool with the whole crossover is some of the species on here, like the Trill, which were humanoid looking aliens that had just little dots going all the way down their body. That's what made them distinct from humans. But this whole story wraps around how Jadzia Dax, who is the younger Dax from Deep Space Nine, and her Trill symbiote that's inside her body, and later on in the story,
Tobacco gets wacko.
yes, Tobacco does get wacko later on in the story. We find out that there's another Trill named Odin here on this page is dying. And one thing to know about the Trill is the fact that it doesn't matter if you're male or female. The symbiote or symbiont chooses its next host, and so Odin's current body, as you can see on here, is a female, but its previous body was a male. And as we'll see in later part, Beverly Crusher talks about how she had a romance with Odin when Odin was actually in Commander Riker's body. And then it's just really cool action shots in this whole entire story, but a lot of listening to as like narration in her head, like her ensign's or not ensign's log, her just her start feed log. And then all of a sudden there's an ambush, and then during the ambush, the main character for the whole story, Jadzia Dax, gets kidnapped, and then you find out at the end that she was kidnapped by a man who actually tried to steal her symbiote to try and have it a part of his body. Because another thing about the Trill is the symbiote actually, because it chooses the bodies, some people can get rejected, and then those people that get rejected are usually ones that they won't use for certain symbiotes, or worms as this guy calls them. And so and a lot of just to end that whole thing, he's now planning on destroying all the symbiotes, or the worm, and that's takes place in this entire 4-book series. So there he is again, threatening to kill Jadzia Dax, and then she gets saved. Here's what the symbiote looks like that's inside her body.
Massive parasite.
Right. And so it's a real interesting story, and it's my favorite. And the reason why I brought it is because this is the first series that I actually owned myself, and so that's why this one's so special to me for comics. And if I were to give this a rating, I'd probably, even though it's so nostalgic, I love the story, the actions was great, the art is actually really good for what I read. I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5. Just based off of all of the stuff that I've read since then.
Oh, check you guys out.
Whoa. And yeah, that ends my segment of For the Love of Comic Books.
Oh boy. All right, you guys. Well, I am going to be talking about Uncanny X-Men issue number 322. So that's fun. This is part of the run that when I file them, it drives me crazy when the issue number is small and declared by the barcode, but not anywhere else on the issue like a lot of the current stuff does. So we're very spoiled these days with the bigger numbers. Taking it out of the bag, I will tell you that, unlike Trevor, I definitely did not take care of my comics. I read the heck out of this thing. The cover is not attached to the book at all, so that's a neat feature. It's more of a dust jacket, if anything. This was actually the very first comic I ever purchased ever in my life. I started collecting comics in 1995, and so I was stationed over in Japan on an Air Force base. And there was a shopette, is what they called it, on our side of the base, where you would go over and they had snacks and candies, and they had one spinner rack of comics where we would get comics into the base. And this was for all of the airmen and women and children to go. So it was very much the Hunger Games to get your comics. There were no holds or anything like that. It was you show up and you get them. Best of luck. We're getting 10 of each or whatever the case was. During that time, I did collect Uncanny X-Men, X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, the one-shots when I could get them. Sometimes I get an issue of X-Man with Nate Gray, just to try things out. But ultimately, it was just such a weird setting to start collecting comics in. My background before moving to Japan, of course, was watching the X-Men 90s cartoons. So I knew who the characters were. And also, shout out to the Marvel card sets as well. And that's why I went to my original comic shop down in Bellevue, Nebraska, which was Ground Zero Hobby. And I would purchase Marvel cards and read the backs of those and memorize the characters. So I knew who was who going into this. And I will say that this very first issue, seeing Juggernaut just beat to crapola on the cover, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's not what I saw in the cartoons or on the card. This dude's unstoppable, right? So I was hooked right away. I'm like, all right, what the heck's going on here? So yeah, like I said, apologies. It doesn't even stay on the cover or anything like that. Right away, I'm seeing cool characters like Archangel. You're seeing Bishop and Hank McCoy hanging out. Hank using an image inducer. You're seeing these cool call-outs. So that little file here above Bishop, I love that X-Men books did this back then, and I wish that we would still see more of that now, but with so many reboots, it's kind of hard in some instances to do that. But man, like saying, you know, see X-Force or current events in X-Force or just last issue in X-Factor, it's just so gratifying to me as a collector to have those call-outs, because then as a young reader, I would get those out or acquire those and read them and be like, oh, cool. And the funny thing is that when the next issue drops, so after this one, I guarantee you I would be reading this one first and then diving into that one. That's how hooked I was on the story, was just really making sure I had my facts straight. But yeah, Bishop and Hank McCoy are like, oh man, there's something going down. Oh, it's the Juggernaut. That's weird. We get a flashback over to Jean Grey talking with her dad, which is cool. Some history there. We have Hank McCoy checking in on Juggernaut. Psylocke shows up to the scene, which is really cool. I love her as a character. And then all of a sudden things go kittywampus. So Juggernaut wakes up and is like, dude, what are you doing? Hank's inducer's busted. He turns true blue. Psylocke is coming in with her psychic knife and hits him in the helmet with it. I kind of question that because there's some mechanics with that helmet versus Charles Xavier. So I don't know how that works versus Charles's powers, because I think Juggernaut's helmet technically has to be removed in order for telepathic invasion to occur, but maybe not. So
well, it looks like she doesn't even really phase him.
Yeah. So he, like, you know, pushes her off. Juggernaut's scared. He's still out there, isn't he? He's coming for me. And Beast is like, dude, you need to chill out. I'm going to go ahead and send you down. So he uses a flippy move to do that. And then Bishop is just saddling up here, grabs some power wires. Juggernaut's last stand. I always love that panel. He just looks so ominous there. But then Bishop just kind of hits him with the electro moves. And yeah, that's it. He's down for the count. A little bit of talking. And then, you know, who did this to you? Who's out there? Onslaught. And I'm just like, dude, as a young reader, mind blowing. Who's Onslaught? I have so many questions. Oh, Iceman and Rogue are next. That's cool. That issue actually wasn't a lot of fun for me because I wanted to know more about Onslaught. So it's really funny how Marvel events, I feel like sometimes with the nowadays events, it's more not drawn out. Like it's always issue. This issue introduces it. Next issue, right into the event. Whereas this, it made you wait. It drawed it out for a couple of months.
And that's the thing is with older comics, they built up to their events.
Yeah.
Right now we have X-Men events back to back.
Yeah. It loses the impact for me. I loved that formula back in the day. And I also love this, like just the little synopsis columns of all the issues coming out in the X universe. I always enjoyed that stuff. Also, it was really fun to read the letters too. Those are always cool.
In the old Superman stuff, I read the reader letters every time.
Yeah. So you guys, this particular comic means a lot to me. It's my first time. I also earn money just from mowing the lawn and just doing chores and stuff, babysitting sometimes. But yeah, it was a cool time starting to collect over in Japan. I actually, like a lot of people, stopped, you know, during high school and college, and then I got back into it in like 2008 or 2009, whenever Dark Reign was, and I've been rocking and rolling ever since. So very thankful for it. Today on the Uncanny X-Men note, what was it, 190 or
the one you just bought?
Yeah,
130.
Got the first Dazzler appearance today, so I'm really excited about that. I also am really passionate about getting those real old X-Men, like under 100 issues too, because I love the artwork in those.
That's
so it's whenever I see them, I'm like, where am I at with stuff? And then sometimes I'll go for it, sometimes not. But X-Men, just like, you know, Trevor, it's something where it's a sometimes thing for me because it's just so massive. But definitely a cool fandom. This was my starting point in comics in general, though. If I were to give this a rating from cover to cover, it might be a short rating because the cover detaches. But I'd probably have to I'd give it a strong 3 out of 5, just because as a reader I've evolved since then with what I look for in comics. So ultimately I liked it. But yeah, I give it a strong 3.
You say I didn't? Are you saying I did not evolve in my comic book looks?
No,
All
I meant
look
me.
for is action.
No. That's
like,
just me.
well, I'm gonna be realistic here and say
No.
I'm an evolved human being unlike these two.
No,
I'm just
because these X titles these days, you get all these characters that we saw on the show. My younger self would have been like, oh my god, 5s out of 5s everywhere. But now I'm like, So I'm just more picky. I don't know, compared to my younger self. I don't know. But
I know I am.
Yeah, definitely love it. I'm glad we were able to do this show tonight, because it's always fun to kind of revisit your roots and talk about what got you into it. And that's one of the things we like about working here, all of us, I think, really, is just hearing from the customers what you're into, and being able to share that fandom with you, be it the sports cards or comics, Pokemon cards, whatever. But yeah, I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's it out of me. Trevor, what else you got? What's going on in your guys' worlds before we shut it down? Got a sale going on?
Tomorrow will be the last day of our Pokemon sale. All of our binder stock, all 21. I have a binder down right now, but 21 binders of Pokemon singles are 10% off. So come in, help yourself load up on those cards. We did have a Crown Zenith restock. We got some new product in, so come check that out too. That'll fly fast. Been working some comic books, so in the next week or so you should see a massive Star Wars race. So come check that. A lot of that Dark Horse stuff. A lot of that out there now. A lot of restock there. Next week I'm hoping to rock some more Pokemon and get some more Pokemon pumped out. I got some collections to go through. Got some good stuff coming up. So watch Facebook for that. Other than that, sports cards?
With sports cards, we're getting into the new seasons coming up, especially with baseball. The new Topps Series 1 is out. And then also I just started 2 new box breaks, both of them football. So those of you that still want to enjoy a little bit of football fun, even though the season's over, the first one's going to be 3 boxes of Donruss football for $25 a spot instead of the usual 35. And then the other one is going to be 2 boxes of Donruss and 1 box of Illusions. And then that will bring us back up to the original $35 a spot. So, and both those box breaks have actually gotten to a pretty good start so far. And the soft close date is actually to be in 3 weeks. So hopefully we can get that done and get it filled, so that way we can get that crack-a-lacking before the next big football stuff comes in. So that's basically I have priced out and put out some new cards in certain sections, so that's kind of nice. Especially I revamped the WNBA section, so we have a whole bunch of cards from the WNBA. I still have a whole bunch more I need to price to get ready and going, but yeah, we have a whole bunch of autographs and special like silver prisms, silver mosaics, all that ready to go. They're in our showcase right next to the regular NBA. I shouldn't say that. That's mean to say that. I totally apologize. Next to the
regular NBA. We have the WNBA.
It's a different organization.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or next to your general NBA.
NBA is right by WNBA.
But,
yeah, they're side by side.
Right. So the WNBA is right next to the NBA, and just in the next showcase. So that is it on sports cards. So
yeah. Other than that, you guys, we're having some really cool collections come in the door. If you're a Deadpool fan, I'm not gonna hint that there's a lot of Deadpool, but just check in with us in a week or two. You might be very happy with some restock options there. Some cool stuff that came in. And then on the horizon, still waiting for official confirmation, but hopefully we have a guest this fall. Can't say anything until I get the final AOK, but we love opportunities like that. And just getting to have special people visit our store so that more special people can come meet that special person, and it'll be fun. So hopefully it all works out. This is a real cool one, but I can't say anything until we get the confirmation. So looking forward to that. Other than that, yeah, like Trevor said, we have been rocking and rolling on comics, both with intake of collections as well as going through our backstock and getting that replenished. Thank you guys again, by the way, for stopping out for our Valentine's Day sale this last week. What a turnout. Holy smokes. It exceeded our expectations, and we were very happy with that. On the horizon, of course, we got Free Comic Book Day coming up, which is the first Saturday in May, so that'll be a lot of fun. I haven't really been looking at what titles are coming out this year, so hopefully be some good stuff. I don't know. But other than that, yeah, rock and roll.
Since we didn't do an end cap recap, do you want to do like a small, like just what's out there?
I could talk about it. As you guys probably know, Ant-Man Quantumania, I'm assuming they know.
Yeah.
Ant-Man Quantumania hit theaters Thursday night.
Oh.
We have not seen it yet.
No.
Our boss has seen it.
Yeah.
Mr. John saw it. Johnny is seeing it tomorrow. I will hopefully go see it in the next couple weeks. I don't know when Casey's getting around to it.
Same thing, because another buddy of mine wants to go see it, so that way he can preview it, so that he can take his soon-to-be stepdaughter to it.
Okay. So we have not all seen it, but if you look at my end cap, based on the trailer I saw, because I've watched the trailers a couple times, I have got Ant-Man titles on the end cap. I've got King-related titles on the end cap, both a trade and timeless.
That trade looks sick.
The trade looks awesome. It's like an essential King or something, so that'd be a good one to check out. And I have got MODOK on the end cap. Because spoiler alert, it looks like he was in the trailer, so I'm just running with it. If you haven't seen the trailer, I'm sorry for saying that, but it is Saturday spoilers, so you got to be prepared for some level of spoiling here. So if you're spoilage, that sounds bad. Anyways. So, if you are looking for your King read, if you're looking for your Ant-Man read, if you're looking for your MODOK read, what I was able to find for you is on that end cap. Supplies are limited because I have looked in the back, and that's all I've got for MODOK. There is not a lot in stock. People have already found out that he's an enjoyable character before the movie came out. But I've got 2 collections of them there, two of the complete sets of MODOK Assassin, I think it was. I don't think it was Head Games. I think it was Assassin. I've got a few issues of MODOK Head Games, and I've got a one-shot from Dark Reign.
Yeah, which is amazing. You should totally buy that. I love it.
But that is all I've got for MODOK, so come grab that while you can, because our supplies are heavily limited. Beyond that, I think that's all we got.
Ooh, and one more thing, you guys. In town, we got 2 cons coming up this year. We got Voices Against Cancer in July, SuperCon late September and October. If you see a guest, and if you have any questions on items that we may or may not have, definitely reach out. Don't hesitate at all, because when it gets closer, what we see is a tidal wave of people, and then sometimes we just run out of everything. Last year it was our Optimus Primes and Megatrons and stuff. So make sure you plan ahead. Get your collectibles, be it comic books, Funkos, whatever. However we can help to make your con experience enjoyable. We're happy to help. So that's all I got.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think I'll wrap her up. Thanks for joining us tonight for a very special episode of Saturday Night Spoilers. I'm sorry we didn't touch on anything new, but I hope this means as much to you as it did to us. Give you a little bit of a glimpse into our comic book lives. I know we get to see yours all every time you step through the door, get to see what you're reading, get to hear from you, and we enjoy that. We look forward to hearing more of that. So thank you again for joining us. I think I'll give our sign out to Mike Trout. We love you, Mike.
Love you, Mike. Casey loves you especially.
Casey loves you a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
And
Mike Trout.